Dude, you're obsessed with your app right now. We got a show to do. What's up, everybody? Oh my gosh, I had the best week in Chicago last week. I just want to give a shout out. Look at this. Shout out to Bastian Schweinsteiger, the Chicago Fire, the Adidas store in Chicago, who hooked us up with some sweet gear. And remember last week you were like, Susannah, so much swag. I brought you something.
Chicago Fire. I can wear this one
a little souvenir from my shopping spree with Bastian.
Wow, thank you.
I'm always thinking of you.
You filled up like 30 bags of stuff I saw you guys.
I did.
And brought me back one hat.
That's it.
Thank you so much.
So
generous.
You're welcome. You're
Let's
welcome.
go Fire.
Oh my God, you guys, that BTW is coming. Keep an eye out for it. I'm so excited about it. You look good.
Thank you so much.
Good. You're welcome.
You guys go by Basti now. You're that tight now.
Yeah, we're pretty tight.
That's so cool.
We spend a lot of time together.
Cubs
He's
game,
cool,
the whole
cool
thing.
Cubs game, shopping, fashion show, the whole thing.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Dream
BTW.
shoot. Dream shoot. It was amazing.
The show's on a roll.
You guys, we have so much to talk. This weekend was a bananas week of MLS. But before we usually start with our twin takeaways, right? We're gonna give a little shout out to the Philadelphia Union, because we've been kind of down on them, but after 252 days, the Philadelphia Union got their first win of 2017, and they did it in a big way behind CJ Zapong's hat trick, 3-0 against the Red Bulls. The fans needed this. They were getting a little restless. I know the players were really frustrated, but Calen, for you, what was the difference this week?
I texted Warren Craval, this is just a side, but I texted Warren on the side and was like, I saw you guys won, what happened?
You're so mean, that's so harsh.
I was rooting for this team for a while to get off the mark. Of course, just the week before they were winning 3-0, and then of course collapsed against Montreal. So to be able to get this win and to be able to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Now this was tight all the way throughout. This was a really tightly contested affair between two teams. Excellent saves on both sides from Robles as well as Andre Blake. Yeah. That one save Robles had
was insane.
On Sapong earlier. Yep. I mean, he could have had more goals.
Huge, absolutely.
But they stuck with it, and they kept going. Bringing in Keegan Rosenberry helped a lot. And Jones in the middle, it gave him a little bit of energy, but they kept going. You got to give Sapong a ton of credit. I think it's his first career hat trick.
First career hat trick for
CJ.
Good time for it.
Had a good week. These guys had a lot of fun. The video that we may see a little bit later.
Oh yes, we're going to talk about that.
I'm that.
Super happy for the Philadelphia Union. Way to go,
Let's
guys.
go Union.
All right.
Dupe, baby.
Let's get to our twin takeaways. Okay, so this was hard this week because there was a lot of things that happened. I was struggling. I was trying to pick one, and so I wanted to talk about a team that we haven't really talked about a lot. In the same way we were talking about Philly in the previous week, I'm going to call this dun 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 in Denver.
I think you could have put a little more into the dun dun
dun dun dun in Denver. Colorado Rapids, they lose their 5th game in a row, 1-0 to Vancouver. Now this was a team who was right in the chase for the Supporters Shield last year, and they're just, they're creating chances. They're not getting the results. And after the game, Pablo kind of said he thought maybe it was a confidence issue. I don't know, Calen, what's going on with the Rapids?
Well, this is your takeaway. Aren't you supposed to know what's going on
No,
with the Rapids?
you're my expert. You're my guru. Give me the goods.
Well, I said last week that I think the margin for this team was small last year, and they just managed to find ways to get on top of it. But you take a couple pieces out, a creative player, a dynamic winger like Marco Papa, who they kind of used from the start and then also off the bench. Of course, Jermaine Jones is no longer there.
Yep.
And then Cronin and Birch. Those two guys were integral parts of the team, right? Now those guys, you see the difference they're making for Minnesota United and to be able to steadying the ship there. So I thought the margin was tight. The margin's always tight in MLS. A few pieces here and there can fall, but hey, just like we've seen in MLS, as it's hard because the margins are tight, it can turn quickly. So if this team can get back on the right side of these 1-0 victories, there's a chance for them still. The West is still tight. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right, what's your takeaway?
Houston Dynamo.
Oh, hey,
yeah.
Shocker.
Of course. Well, hey, it was always Orlando City SC for the last, I don't even know, 8 weeks. And finally, now we've switched, and partly because it was Houston's dynamic win 4-0 at home over Orlando City SC.
This was a result I don't think people expected.
No, well, tough week for Orlando. Of course, they had to travel up to Toronto. They lose up there and then go on the road down to Houston. You don't want to finish a road trip in Houston in that heat and against this team right now because Houston, this is the best I've seen them look in years. I mean, the way they're able to get out on the break, it looked like a fast break drill. I mean, Alex was fantastic, winning balls. He finds guys through. They're able to find Elise on the wing. Kyoto is back. He's been great. And Manotas, who's been one of my favorite players over the last year and a half. I think he's been so fantastic, not talked about enough. And of course, with Kubo Torres' rise, people have predicted Manotas' fall. Well, you see now, Kubo doesn't play in this one, of course, and then Manotas steps up the last 2 games, actually, and has been excellent. So this team's been very solid in the back, too, which has been the surprise for me. I knew they were going to be dangerous going forward, but a big shout out to Houston. And I'm going down to Houston to visit soon. Yeah,
there you go.
Excited, yeah.
That'll be fun. I also think you owe a little apology to one of our commenters. Miguel Santiago last week, he hit you up in the comments, said he was a little nervous about the road games coming up for Orlando, and you were like, "Yeah, no worries, man. Orlando's got this." And looks like.
Yeah, well, that has been the thing. You know, I said that Orlando City has been the best team in MLS this season, and they hadn't because they'd won 6 and 7. But look, almost all of those games are at home, and so now they have to go on a little bit of a tough stretch. You see, they don't respond as well. One factor they didn't have, Jonathan Spector in this last Houston game. So you see how important he is in the team. He was the steadying factor in this team's resurgence in the back. Joe Bendick, of course, as well, who maybe had some great saves, but also a couple that he'd like to have back. I still think this team will be fine. Recipe in MLS, win at home, try and survive on the road.
Little dose of reality for
but
Orlando. They've been living the dream.
They're going to have to come back down to earth a little bit.
All right, well, we talked a little bit about Toronto. They beat Orlando 2-1 on Wednesday, and then they had a really quick turnaround. It was an MLS Cup rematch between them and the Sounders, this game in Seattle, and this time they were on the other end of the 1-0 result. They get the win, and I know these quick turnarounds are tough for teams, especially when you're doing all that traveling, but I have to imagine that Toronto was really geared up for this one. A little revenge on their minds.
Well, you know what? Actually, I'm not so sure about that, because if they were, they probably would have brought Javinko and some of their top players. They didn't bring a couple guys here to this game, not even on travel them. So that doesn't exactly show to me that they're like, we have to go for revenge in this one. I think what you saw there is something that Toronto can do that maybe not a lot of other teams in MLS are ready to, which is really to rotate your squad. And they played a little bit more pragmatic, sat back a little bit more, tried to clog the lines, and then try and hit on the break a bit, and it worked. But you can't see a lot of teams in MLS being able to leave home a couple players and just rest them altogether.
The depth on that team.
The depth on the team. Chapman steps in as one of the homegrown players. Had some really nice play through, combined well with Josie. I have to give this team, Toronto, a lot of credit. We knew they were deep, but to be able to go on the road to Seattle, that's a tough place to do it and get a win. That's huge.
Well done, well done. All right, well, good news, guys. You don't have to wait long for more MLS action. On Wednesday, we've got Columbus. They're welcoming the team we just talked about, Toronto FC, and a full weekend of action culminates with 3 national television games. ESPN is Portland hosting Atlanta United at 4 p.m. Eastern, then over on FS1. A doubleheader starting with the Red Bulls welcoming the Galaxy at 6 p.m. Eastern. I am going to be at that game. I'm going to be doing a little social media stuff, which will be fun.
That's cool.
And then the crosstown rivals NYCFC traveling to face Dallas at 8 p.m. Eastern. And, guys, sometimes you're busy. Sometimes you can't be at home to watch these games, but guess what?
What?
There's an app for that.
Ooh.
There's an app for that. Download the MLS app. It's actually great. I used it a ton this weekend. You can watch highlights, get scores, standings, catch up on some episodes of The Movement, maybe, BTW, if you're into it.
That'd be nice, yeah.
Download that app.
No, it is good. I was on the train on the way back from NYCFC game yesterday, and to be able to check up and see what had happened around the league. I hadn't seen Abu Dunladi's first goal for Minnesota United. Shout out to Abu.
We're getting there.
West Coast UCLA kid. But yeah, it helps to be able to do that on the run.
It does. Yeah. Download it. You won't regret it. All right, Calen, guess what? It's time for a little trifecta.
The trifecta.
The trifecta.
I like it.
Here we go.
Start us off.
I just mentioned him. Abu Dunladi.
What
Abu
a transition.
Dunladi. Wasn't that great?
It's like we've done this before.
It's maybe like we talked about this a little bit beforehand. First start for him in Minnesota. He gets his first goal. He was obviously the first draft pick, and so a lot of firsts for this guy. But first goal. That's a big one. You're going to remember that one, right? But a huge 2-0 win over Kansas City, who was flying. They were doing really, really well, and I think a lot of people had kind of written Minnesota off
I feel like you're
bit.
subtweeting me right now.
A little bit at
Is this a subtweet?
a little. I'm
at me, bro.
Just bring it. Bring it. Yes, you. No, a lot of people have written them off after the way the season started.
True. I think Adrian Heath said something that, if I'm paraphrasing, but he said, we have too much talent for teams to be able to overlook us.
Don't
and not
ignore
punish
us.
Don't ignore us.
Don't ignore us.
And he's right.
Yeah.
You know, I think they did a little formation change. They've brought in now an extra creative player because before it was all on Molino. Now they've brought in Dunlady from the start or Venegas before that. I think that gives them a little bit more on the attack. Of course, Christian Ramirez keeps scoring goals. Yeah. And his partner, Miguel Ibarra, is setting them up. So that's a nice little formula for them. I think it is an issue of teams overlooking them to an extent because it is hard to change the collective conscience about this team because you remember how they started the season. I think it was 18 goals conceded in their first 4 matches. And so teams, that's what you know about them, or that's what you remember about them. And then, of course, yeah, your coach can tell you during the week in film session, hey, this team can hurt you. But you don't think of them in the same way that you would an NYCFC or even in Atlanta, you know, some of the new teams that have come out the gates hot.
Speaking of Atlanta, I just want to point out, too, that both Minnesota and Atlanta, our 2 expansion teams this year, are sitting on 11 points. Minnesota has a game in hand as well. So let's just, you know, we talked a ton about Atlanta. So this is just some
Let's
interesting
go Minnesota.
perspective.
Adrian Heath got these guys.
One
interesting tidbit, because we haven't mentioned Kyle Aaron yet. Adrian Heath did not play Kyle Aaron for the beginning of the season, his rookie year.
Yes.
Took him about 6 games for him to win that starting spot and, of course, start scoring goals. Abu Dunladi starting the season pretty parallel. I think he wants to, you know, the young guys have to earn his trust, and I think Abu's performance could help him to do that.
All right, my number 2 in my trifecta, your buddy, Wando.
Yes.
Wando, he had the brace in the big 3-0 win over Portland for San Jose. He has 10 goals against Portland in his career.
4 goals and 5 assists on the season. Dom Kinnear's got these guys going. They got a big win, of course, at Minnesota last week, gave them a little bit of confidence. Now you see that rolling forward. Of course, no Valeri or Darlington Nagbe this one. But hey, that doesn't matter. Shout out to San Jose.
Wins.
Wando
3 points, 3 points.
Love
3 points and 3 points. And my number 3, I'm going to give this one to Max Arudi because he had a brace as well. We're all throughout the braces this week in the big 3-0 win against RSL. And Dallas, again, they haven't lost. They haven't lost. And Maxi Rudy is a huge reason why. And I know I said this last week, but I keep thinking about it. Mauro Diaz is going to come back, and this team has already established itself as, you know,
he's going to have to fight for his spot.
I know, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I just wanted to give Dallas some love because I know we get complaints.
We talked about Toronto FC having depth. Dallas is the other one when you think of the from top to bottom best rosters in MLS. Those 2 have to be front of the list.
Yes, absolutely. All right, your trifecta. Take it away, sir.
Higuain.
Higuain.
One of your favorite words to say.
Higuain. It is.
Keep it going.
Higuain. Also,
just rolls off the tongue.
That goal.
Yeah, again, 2 weeks in a row with beautiful goals from Gonzalo. Was really instrumental throughout the match, being able to transition side to side, but then also being able to play direct. You know, he's not as mobile as he once was, but I don't think that's really a part of his game. He moves with his head, you know, with his mind. He's always a play ahead of the other team. You never quite know which way he's going to go. Justin Miram, again, I keep talking about him, but doing fantastic. And I really also like Ola Kamara. I think he doesn't get talked about with the BWPs, with the Kyle Aarons, Josie Altidores, top strikers in the league. He does an excellent job of, you know, movement in the box. He's able to, I see him drifting a lot to the left-hand side, able to put it on his right foot, find that back post. Really good stuff. I like this Columbus Crew SC team.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Who else?
Oh, David Villa. David Villa. I went to this game, of course, at NYCFC, did a little Instagram takeover. You guys can check that out.
It was a good story.
Thank you so much.
You did well.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
I watched it.
But it's such a treat to watch him play.
Yeah.
I know I'm supposed to be an analyst and a bit removed, but just to be there in person and to see, you know, dropping deep into the midfield, chasing guys down and winning slide tackles from behind to keep plays alive for his team. And then, of course, what he does in front of goal is really second to none. It's pretty, I don't know if I've ever seen this, to be honest, in MLS. A designated player, someone of his stature, has come back and played in MLS with this amount of passion and energy. He got subbed out in extra time.
Yeah.
And for a goalie, and he did not want to come off the field. And I think it was partly he wanted to see the game out, and partly because I think he wanted another goal. but it was really, if you have a chance to go up to Yankee Stadium or if he comes to your team, you really should go watch him play because you get a different sense of appreciation when you watch him off the ball and the movement that he does.
He's special. He's special.
Yep.
All right, speaking of NYCFC, Tommy McNamara, not on the starting 18 yesterday. Today marks the final day of the primary transfer window for MLS, and I know that kind of created some speculation, but since you were there, I thought maybe I would ask you if you had some inside scoop that you could give us regarding this.
That's because I told you off camera I talked to Tommy Mac.
Maybe.
I did, yeah.
Give the viewers what they want, Calen.
No, he was obviously disappointed he wasn't in the 18, of course, but I think he talked about, just wanting to get back in the squad, working to get back in the squad, but he wants to stay in NYCFC. I don't see any changes happening there. But it is an interesting time because you start to look around who's dressed, who's not dressed, who's playing, who's undervalued. I'm sure there are plenty of teams on the phone calling for Tommy, but Patrick Vieira has spoken really highly of him, and you'll see. It's not where you start the season on the field. I know this in some cases. You want to be there near the end of the season playing. There's still plenty of time to integrate yourself into the squad and make an impact.
Ooh, look at you.
Yeah.
Inside information. I love it.
And my third trifecta, LA Galaxy. What's happening?
Whoa.
I mean, they go down 2-0 at home to Chicago Fire.
And Chicago Fire were flying in that first half.
They were.
It looked like they were going to kind of run away.
Disappointing for the Fire not to be able to come away with 3 points after being up 2-0 on the road. You could tell the Galaxy are in unfamiliar territory where they're not used to losing at home or going down goals at home. And they're not quite sure. I think even for the viewers, you're not quite sure, is this the new Galaxy where you can expect these things to happen? Or is this sort of just a bump in the road? But Yella Van Dam gets subbed off in I think about the 30th minute. Of course, Jermaine Jones goes out injured. Give the team a ton of credit coming back from behind. You get a couple scrappy goals off set pieces. Gio Dos Santos gets back on the board, which would be good for his confidence. But
for sure.
What do Yella, what do you think about this? There were some interesting comments after the game as well.
Well, Curt Onalfo said after the game, he was asked about the decision to sub Yella off, and he said something along the lines of expecting his players to be ready from the first minute. So it's felt like kind of a loaded comment. I know that Yella...
Subtweet?
Yeah, a subtweet perhaps. Yella usually talks to the media after the game's wins, losses. He's usually really good about that. He did not speak to the media after this game.
Ties, maybe not so much.
So, so I have to imagine that he wasn't terribly happy with the decision, but I don't know. We were kind of texting about it, and you thought maybe this could be a little bit.
It's something to watch.
Move. I don't know.
It's something to watch, but it does send a message as a manager to your team saying, "Hey, listen, I will sub off one of our best players, one of our leaders, if you're not performing at the level that you're capable of." He needs Yella though to be able to push this team forward to get them back to where they need to go.
100%, but he had the foul on I think it was Nikolic in the box, the penalty. So I don't know if that was
it's desperation at that point. I wouldn't blame him for that. I think it's more I don't think this is an isolated incident. I think this is something from being in locker rooms that has been building a little bit.
Yeah. And
then that frustration boils over. But it will be interesting. You have to watch this, especially in training this week and then leading up to the next match to see how the whole team responds.
Juicy. Little drama. We like it. We like it. We like it.
Yeah.
And speaking of drama, let's get a little Simon Borg in our lives.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. There he is.
What's up, Simon?
There he is. There he is.
It might be an interesting instant replay this week.
Ooh, yes.
I saw a lot of action on Twitter. Yeah.
We'll hear him in the sound booth doing it. It'll be great. Okay, did you see that?
What's yours?
Do you want to know what mine is? This is so obvious, but this was one of the greatest things that I've seen in a while. Philadelphia Union put out this video. It was basically a complete reenactment of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air opening sequence, and
Warren
it was
in that.
with he was, and CJ Sapong was Fresh Prince, and they did it like shot for shot. It was just an exact replica
chest
of
air,
the
though,
original. It was so good. It was so good.
No.
I watched it like
Philly
3
video
times.
team. They're doing stuff.
Philly, God, bravo to you. It was so
like
fun.
it.
So fun. If you haven't watched it, you got to check it out. It was great.
Did you see that? My men's league team. I'm always talking about it. I know there's a lot going on, but the Boniak twins took a week off. You know, they can't do incredible videos every week.
Did you see that every week?
Yeah, so my team is myself, a bunch of former MLS guys.
I know.
Keith Pierce, of course,
You know
a
what's
favorite
so
of the
funny?
show.
All of you guys tweeted out the exact same picture.
Yeah.
And you forgot to put on your medal, dude. Like, all y'all are wearing, like, your medals, and then there's Calen, like, I don't need no medal.
You know what's funny? I forgot my medal at MLS Cup, too. 2012, yeah.
It's just your thing.
Yeah, I'm not into second place medals.
It's
But
your
this
thing.
is a first place
This
one.
was the
I could have
first place
treasured
medal.
that. That was my chance.
I'm very happy.
James
for
Riley,
you.
Heath Pierce,
Aleko
Iskandarian, Luke Susannah. Yeah, we had a good squad.
I mean, you guys
we finally
should
lived
win.
up to our potential.
You should win.
Bowery Premier Champions.
Give it up. Give it up
Yeah.
for Calen Carr. Very happy for you.
Still got it,
I
guys.
still got it. Still got it. That's it, man.
That's the
all
whole
she
show.
wrote.
That's cool.
That's all she
Where are you
wrote.
traveling next? I feel like every week you're going on the road somewhere.
Oh
You
man,
going to-
I think I might be going to Seattle in a few weeks.
Yeah?
I don't know. We've got BTW. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it
Oh,
secret.
big time.
I know.
Love
big
it,
time.
love it.
Big time. Big time. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to download that app. It's great, right? You were on it. It took us
I
like
can barely
20
pay
minutes to
attention
start
to it,
filming
yeah.
the show because you were on the app. So download the app, get in the comments, do all that. We're gonna see you next week.